I'm pretty sure a lot of you saw this coming, cause you know, it's your boy Whisker-chan we're talking about. So, what are we talking about? I'm pretty sure y'all seen the thumbnail and title. Well, it's getting a little chilly, you know, a little cold. Let's go ahead and talk about what would be Ayaka's best build. And with the update 1.2 coming, it makes it even more possible to make her ideal build. And knowing all of her information will make it to where we can make her best build possibly. Or many of her multiple builds she can possibly have, right? So, let's go ahead and get into this video. But before we do, y'all already know. Go ahead, if you are new to the channel, smash the subscribe button down below. Join the subscribers on the grind to 1,400, guys. And go ahead and smash that like button down below. But alright, without further ado, let's get into this video. First things first, shout out to NepNep, y'all already know. We didn't see this before, but it was retweeted so that we could see it. So thank you, Neptune. But basically, this is Ayaka, and this is some of the things that she can do with her sprint, right? Yeah, it's similar to Mona. As you do know, if you play Mona, if you have Mona, once you do her sprint on water, she can go across water. Now, it's way more different from Ayaka's. Why? Because Ayaka isn't just going over the water, because she can sprint over water, but as she sprints over water, she creates a path of a cryo ice on the water. So that is really cool. That is just something that's something to note about this character that makes her extremely sick. How she can travel over water and also create a pedestal basically that she could rest on and get her stamina back and then continue to go across the water. That's going to be really good for water cross adventures. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's just one of the features I wanted to show everybody about Ayaka. Now let's go ahead and go and look at some of these units, normals and elemental skills, elemental burst, and all that, right? Alright guys, shout out to Neptune again, y'all already know. Here we go. This is Ayaka. This is her interface. This is how her things look. But this is in a beta. This is a beta tester. So guys, closed beta tester at that. This stuff is probably prone to change. Like some of her multipliers, you know, some of this, all that. We don't understand it, but you can see the multiplier numbers. Some of that is probably most likely going to change since this is closed beta. So as you can see, that is the normal attack. That is the full left click, only left click, just pressing. And now that is hold. That is hold right there, where she slices and then holds and then puts it back and then does all the stuff. And this is our elemental skill right there that does cryo damage and knocks all of her enemies back, and that is her Sinho, which is her elemental skill as well. You could count it as elemental skill, but it's her sprint basically, right? And then we have her elemental burst, which is where everything comes in. And if you didn't notice in the last video when she did her elemental burst also froze all the water underneath it, which was also really, really cool, right? Basically what we're seeing is that she can do a lot of cryo damage, right? And also another thing to know about this character, which is absolutely insane, if you didn't know, she is a sword user, right? And her element is cryo. You already know Ayaka is a 5-star, all that, right? But this is where it gets me. Every character in the game has a certain like substat to their ascension that only is for that character, right? As you see, like the Luke, for example, he has base HP, base attack, base defense, and then he has crit rate. Well, as you can see, guys, she has cryo damage as her ascension stat. And then you can see it can go up to 28.8%, okay? So why is this important? What does this say about this unit? What this says about this unit is that she's going to be able to do additional cryo damage because of that cryo damage multiplier on her ascension, which therefore means when you build this character, she's going to have to be built around some sort of cryo support damage. She's not going to be a white DPS damage like Keking or Kaching or Kaching. You can make her into a white damage, probably, most likely you will be able to, but she will not be as viable as Kaching. But like I said, since she has this cryo damage multiplier on her ascension, maybe it'd be wise to focus on cryo, you know, like around that area. Now you're probably saying, Whisker, but there are no artifacts that give a cryo damage percent. Well guys, you're in luck. Let's go ahead and show you this artifact. Boom! This is the new artifact that is coming to update 1.2 with Dragon Spine. This is the Blizzard Strayer set, right? So basically, guys, I'm gonna go to the image. 2-piece gives you a cryo damage bonus plus 15%, and the 4-piece is when a character attacks an enemy affected by cryo, the crit rate is increased by 20%. And if you freeze them when you attack them while they're inflicted with cryo, it increases by another 20%, which could go for a max of 40% increased crit rate. Now, what does this mean? What is this build? What should you even build your Ayaka on based off of this information? Well, there are a lot of things to keep it to note. Because there's actually multiple sets. Before we get into these sets, I want to go over this character a little more and describe which set will work best with how this character works in general, right? So we have our elemental skill, which is right here called Kamisato Arc Hyoka, or Hyuka, right? So Ayaka emits ice around herself and shortly afterward launches nearby opponents, dealing AoE cryo damage. As we've seen in the footage, she did do the ice. There was a little big old icicle at the bottom of her that just popped and everything popped out. That would have knocked all the enemies away and did cryo damage, AoE cryo damage. And then we have her Senho, which is, like I said, her sprint, basically. Ayaka consumes stamina to hide within a swift flow of sleet that moves as she moves. In Senho form, she can move at high speeds on water. When she reappears, the following effects are produced. She inflicts cold on nearby enemies, and the cold congeals along Ayaka's blade, converting her attack damage, into cryo damage for a brief period. So, basically, once you come from under that ground, that ice goes onto your sword, basically, right? And then you do cryo damage for a brief period. No, we do not know the actual time and the cooldown of this or whatever, but we do know when she comes out of that ground, she has a little bit of a cryo damage bonus because the cryo damage is going onto her sword. This is why this character is really focused around cryo damage, and it's really good because there's so many things you could do, so many team setups, which we will save the team setups for another video. The team setups will probably be the day after this video to talk about what her best teams are, why are they her best teams and whatnot. But without further ado, let's go into her elemental burst. We have where it's called Kamisato Art Sometsu. We have where Ayaka gathers frost with her fan and sword, as you've seen, and she creates the 3 little wind blades, right? And then these blade storms deal cryo damage over time to all enemies in his path. After the damage over time has ended, the created blade storm will burst, dealing cryo damage to all enemies in a bigger radius. Now, I'm pretty sure once she comes out, we're going to see the multipliers of the burst damage. Like, we're going to see the damage over time percent, and then we're going to see the burst damage percent. Because I'm pretty sure that burst damage percent could go pretty high the more you level up her talent, right? So, let's go over her passives. We have her map passive, which doesn't really matter. We just need to go over her actual passives right here, which is Kanten Senmyo Norito. I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong, guys. Her first passive is normal attack. Hits on enemies affected by cryo have a 6% out of 8 or 18% chance, respectively, to shorten the cooldown of Kamisato Art Hyoka. And if you don't know what Hyoka is, guys, Hyoka is her elemental skill where she emits all that ice around herself and makes everybody fly away with cryo damage, right? So, by 0.5%, of course. So that's not really a big deal, but it's better than nothing. That's really good. It's better than nothing, but this is where it really comes in. This is where it kind of like, it's broken kind of. So we have, while in Kamisato Arc Senho form, which is her sprint, Kamisato Ayaka marks nearby opponents below 30% HP, leaving Senho form near the marked opponents and immediately hitting them with a normal attack that deals cryo damage equal to 300% of attack. This attack counts as a charge attack, so it's going to take stamina. But what I'm saying is, boom, you see somebody with 30% health, you pull up on them, normal attack is going to deal that cryo damage equal to 300% of attack. 300%, and that's cryo damage. And as you've seen up here, it says right here, cold congeals along Ayaka's blade, converting her attack damage into cryo damage. Like I said, when she comes out of that ground, she's doing cryo damage for a brief period, and on her passive, it boosts that brief period. If they're below 30% HP, it boosts that brief period, right, for 300% of her attack, basically 300% of attack. That is a whop a lot of damage. And as you do know, depending on what you have, what set you have on her, it can be monstrous. Now, I want to talk about the first set, which is the Blizzard Strayer set, guys, which is coming in 1.2, as you do remember me saying, right? So we have a 2-piece bonus, which is cryo damage bonus plus 15%. And then we have the 4-piece bonus is when a character attacks an enemy affected by cryo, their crit rate is increased by 20%. If the enemy is frozen, the crit rate is increased by an additional 20%, which basically means, like, say for example, you run a Hydro with your Ayaka. And as you do know, Ayaka can literally spit out so much cryo damage because of her ability to sprint and then do cryo damage, and then have a cryo damage elemental burst, cryo damage elemental skill, and then there's no telling what these cooldowns are yet, but they're probably short cooldowns. I'm pretty sure this is a unit where you could spam her elemental burst, right? So you're gonna be doing tons of cryo damage. If you have a Hydro, you have that Hydro support like Mona, you throw out one of those tickers, her elemental skill, and then it's gonna consistently hit everybody in that AoE with water, Hydro damage, and then boom, you use AYAKA, freeze everybody. You now have them with the cryo status, and then they're frozen, meaning you get the increased 20% crit rate, and then the additional increased 20% crit rate because you're frozen and have the ailment of cryo. So now you have a 40% crit rate. What does this mean? Depending on what you put on your character, you can destroy. Now I want to talk about some things with these sets, right? So as you can see, the main stat availability, as you do know, the right here, as you can see, this is the this is the Plume of Death, and this is the Flower of Life, I'm gonna call it, right? As you know, those always have a flat HP, flat attack stat. Those do not change. But then we have these three, which is the Goblet, Eon Them, and the Eon, right? So these are what the main stat availabilities can do. So what you're looking for is what I'm gonna tell you what you're looking for on your crown. What you really want is crit damage. We're saying why crit damage was great. If you could get a 5-star Broken Rhymes Echo, which is the 5-star Blizzard Strayer crown, right? If you could get crit damage on that, why is that so important? If you put this whole set, the 4-piece set on her, this 4-piece set provides you with crit rate basically. As long as you have a Hydro on your team and you can freeze your enemies, you don't even have to freeze them. You still get an increased 20% crit rate even if you don't freeze them. It's 20%. So what you're looking for mainly is you want crit damage on this crown, so that the more crit damage you have, and if you possibly can, you know all the substats which you really want to main on your substats on every one of your artifacts is crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, and HP if you possibly can. If you can't do that, that's what you want to run on your substats of all of your artifacts, right? So you want crit damage on the crown, right? And then what you want on the cup is attack percent. As you can see, you have attack percent on the cup, right? And then finally we have our Eon Them. And what do you want on your Eon Them? That is up to you how you built that, but what you mainly want is crit damage, attack percent, and either energy recharge or elemental mastery, or that's really about it. I'm thinking like it's like the crit, how she has the built-in crit rate already from the artifacts. Basically, once you do all these reactions, once you freeze, you're gonna have that 40% crit rate. It's so good. I'm telling you, that crit damage is gonna come in so much handy. Get as much crit damage substats as you can, because you're gonna need a lot of crit damage for all the crit rate you're gonna have. You're gonna have crit rate on your substats as well if you can. You want to get crit rate, crit damage on your subset as much as you possibly can. I'm telling you, this is gonna really apply to this character, and this set is really gonna build AYAKA really well around crit rate and crit damage if you build it right, if you get the luckiness to build it right? So this set is called the Blizzard Strayer set, and that is what you should run. This is what you can run. This is one of the many options, but there's also another option and another option after that. Well, there's probably like 3 more options actually that I want to discuss. But this was the first option. This is the Blizzard Strayer set. This is probably the safest option to go with. But let's go ahead and go over the next one. Glacier and Snowfield set. Now, this set, I don't know when this is coming out. It might come out in 1.2. It might not. Y'all let me know down in the comment section below. It should come down in 1.2. Or it's probably already out. I don't know if it's out yet. No, it's not out. It's to be determined, yeah. So as you can see, this is similar to the Strayer set, basically, because the 2-piece basically gives you cryo damage bonus plus 15%, just like the last set, but the 4-piece works a little bit more different, and this is way different. This increases super conduct damage by 100%, increases melt damage by 15%, and using an elemental burst increases your cryo damage bonus by 30% for 10 seconds. Now, why is this set so good? Why can this set be so good? That is because increasing super conduct damage by 100% is insane. For the fact, it's going to reduce their physical defense by 40% for 8 to 9 seconds. So you're going to be basically debuffing them, right? And then you're gonna have melt damage just increase depending on what team you run. We're not gonna go over teams. Depending on what team you run, whether that's, you know, Fischl AYAKA or whether that's Mona AYAKA, whichever one you want to run on whichever set you want to. Well, you really have to run a Electro user with this set if you want to get the maximum benefits from the 4-piece for the super conduct. Because as you do know, Cryo and Electro mixed together makes super conduct for the negative 40% physical resistance, right? So once you get that, the super conduct damage is increased by 100%. Meaning, say for example you cause an Electro reaction on that enemy, then you swap to AYAKA and then you do her elemental burst or something. It's gonna proc super conduct, and that damage is gonna be increased by 100% since it is super conduct. So that is broken. And this also is good because it increases melt damage, meaning you could run a pyro unit with this. Yes, a pyro unit, depending on whoever you run. You can increase the melt damage by 15%. And also, once you use the elemental burst, your cryo damage is increased by 30%. And like I said, on AYAKA, what you're gonna be doing a lot of cryo damage with this character. That's how it looks. That's how her specs look. That's how her skills look. Everything, and how she sounds like she can be built, right? So this cryo damage bonus for 30 seconds for 10 seconds is absolutely insane, because that means, say for example, you use Fischl, elemental skill, then boom, they're getting hit with electro damage. They have electro status on them, and then you do elemental burst on AYAKA. Boom, that procs super conduct. That means your damage on your elemental burst is going to be increased by 100%, right? Then boom, right after, you can go under the ground with her sprint, come out of the ground, and do cryo damage for a brief moment, right? And if they are below 30%, you get that 300% plus attack, meaning you're going to nuke them. Like literally, that is the perfect combo, because your cryo damage is increased by 30% at that moment. You're going to literally nuke them. So cryo damage increased by 30%, right? And then your cryo damage is increased by 300% from her passive if they're below 30% out. So it's 330%, guys. That is so much damage you can do just from a charged attack. And that's just from sprinting and then coming out of the ground. And you're going to have that brief moment where you have cryo damage on your sword. That is absolutely broken. That's why this set is absolutely insane. But like I said, it varies. Depends on your preference which one you would run, because between the Blizzard Strayer and the Glacier Snowfield, they're both extremely good sets. It's just up to you what you want to play, what teams you have, whether you could run which set or which not. You know what I'm saying? So this one right here for the Blizzard Strayer set, mainly, in my opinion, actually, let's go over the rest of the sets before we compare all of them, right? Because the Glacier, like I said, Glacier and Blizzard, their preference. But if you have only limited things in your character's inventory, like you have limited characters, you don't have every character, you don't have a character that can proc super conduct, you don't have a character that can proc, you know, anything, like this is the safest set to go with if you don't have that many characters. If you don't have a character that can help you with super conduct, this is the way to go. But in the recent event, we got a free Fischl, so everybody should have Fischl, and that is super conduct right there. She's a really good support and also a really good DPS if you want to run her like that. So anyway, let's go over the next set. I'm pretty sure most of you guessed it, but I feel like this set is not really as viable as the Blizzard and Strayer. So what I'm gonna say is, I mean, not the Blizzard and Glacier. What I'm gonna say is, this is one you can run. You can run 2-piece Glad with the 2-piece Glacier or the 2-piece Blizzard, since they both have the same 2-piece bonus for cryo damage plus 15%. Or you can run something that's people are probably gonna try out to see if they could just like nuke with her elemental burst, is the Noblesse Obliged 2-piece set with the Glacier or Blizzard 2-piece set for the cryo damage bonus, right? Those are other builds you can also try on your AYAKA. But what you mainly want to look for is probably a 4-piece set of Blizzard and 4-piece set of Glacier if you possibly can, when these come out. When like I said, Blizzard comes out in 1.2, the Glacier might come out in 1.2, we don't know yet. So we'll see about that, and if it already is out, I'm sorry, because I really don't, I've never seen the set. So yeah. So anyway, which one should you run between these? Those other sets are basically just like secondary sets if you can't get a 4-piece. If you don't want to, I mean, they're really good. For the 18% increased attack on the 2-piece Glads is really good, and the Noblesse Obliged is if you want to just nuke for ridiculous damage. That is up to you. But what is looking more consistent is these 4-piece sets, because this one requires just her. I mean not her. You actually need, for the 40% full 40% crit rate increase, you need a Hydro on your team. Now what does this mean? If you have Mona, now this would be a broken set, because if you have Mona, as you do know, Mona has her elemental burst, which literally is the best support burst, not the best, one of the best support bursts in the game, that supports your damage like crazy, right? And the good thing about this is Basically, once you inflict them with cryo, and then you use elemental skill from Mona, boom, everybody's getting hit with Hydro now. They're frozen. 40% increased crit rate. Then you do your elemental burst with Mona, and then you do your elemental burst with AYAKA, and that damage is going to smack because your crit rate is high. And like I said, if you fish for crit damage on your crown, as you can see, crit damage on your crown, attack percent on your cup, if you really can, it doesn't even matter which one you get, just make sure the substat gets crit rate and crit damage. You really need a fat crit rate, crit damage. You want as much crit damage as possible because you're going to have a high crit rate when you have this Mona, or when you have the Hydro and AYAKA team comp, right? You're going to need crit damage because your crit rate's going to already be really, really good. And you're going to have the cryo damage bonus. And then you're going to have AYAKA's cryo damage bonus because of her passive, because of her sprint, right? So, now let's go over this Glacier. I feel like with the Glacier, guys, this one's just broken. For the mere fact of the superconduct increasing by 100%, and then, like, say for example, you can, I don't even want to talk about team comps, but like, it's just so endless of what you can do with team comps with these builds, right? So we have the increasing superconduct damage by 100%. Like I said, you proc that electro reaction, you throw out your electro bird from Fischl, right? And then after you throw out the electro bird, which I'm gonna call it now, once you throw out the electro bird, it's gonna do electro damage. Once you do that electro damage, then you are going to be ready to deal this massive 100% increased superconduct damage because you are going to attack with AYAKA with one of her skills. Whether that is, you can do this, right? Say for example, you proc superconduct, you get that additional 100% damage. Before you proc superconduct and you have the electro damage on them, the electro status on them, you can sprint, then come out, and then if they're below 30% health, boom, 330%. Well, no, since you didn't use your elemental burst, 300% damage right there. But like I said, if you proc superconduct, you get that 100% damage bonus, right? So say for example, you throw out Fischl's elemental skill, and then you throw out AYAKA's elemental burst. That superconduct plus 100% to that superconduct, guys. So you're gonna be doing massive damage on your elemental burst, and then after that, once you proc your elemental burst, you get the increased cryo damage. And like I said, she is built off. Look, I can show you. She is literally built off cryo damage, as you can see up here. Right here, cryo damage. It can go up to 28.8%. So if you could really go all out on this, it will be insane. And another thing to note, actually, is that there is something that's missing from here. I forgot. So on your crown of Glacier, or your goblet, or your sands, what you want, you got crit damage, attack percent, and cryo damage. That is what you want. That is it. So I want to correct myself on that. Crit damage, attack percent, and cryo damage. I'm pretty sure there's cryo damage in this game. There is 100%, because every single one has cryo damage. So you don't want to opt for energy recharge. You don't want to opt for elemental mastery. You want pure crit damage, attack percent, and cryo damage. Okay, guys? But which set, like I said, which set will be better? Which set? Now, they're both really, really good. Both these sets, the Glacier and the Blizzard, right? They're both really good sets. It depends on your preference, but in my opinion, what I'm going to run is this Glacier and Snowfield set for the mere fact of the superconduct increase, and then the increased melt damage and the elemental burst increasing the cryo damage. And knowing that AYAKA is going to deal tons of cryo damage, I'm going to give her this cryo damage buff, and I'm going to give her the superconduct buff and melt buff. So I might as well just run this set. This set is really good, but crit rate, like I said, you could build up crit rate. Depends on how you want to build your AYAKA. You can have, instead of crit damage, you can have crit rate, you can have attack percent, and then cryo damage if you want. And that could be your build. It's up to you. But like I said, what I'm going to do is the Glacier and Snowfield set with crit damage, cryo damage, and attack percent. Because she is going to hit like a truck. And I'm talking like a truck. And it's going to be so fun playing this unit. I can't wait for this unit to come out. And it's just going to, I can't wait. Anticipating everything, like, looking at these builds just makes me really want to try them on the character. And that's why I really, really, really can't wait for her to come out. And for the Blizzard Strayer artifact set coming in 1.2, that is really, really cool. I'm happy that it's coming. But I hope that the Glacier and Snowfield set will also come in 1.2. And if it doesn't, I hope it comes either before AYAKA, so I can farm it for AYAKA, or like with AYAKA. So anyway, that's really about it for this video, guys. Like I said, whichever set you build on her, it depends on your preference. What you mainly want, well, what I'm going to do for my set is I am literally going to do crit damage, cryo damage, and attack percent. For the mere fact that her cryo damage is going to be through the roof because of her literal ascension stat being cryo damage, okay? So that means she's supposed to be doing that, okay? And she does tons of cryo damage, guys. Like, her attacks, Like, she could do consistent cryo damage because of her Sinho, and also her elemental skill and elemental burst. There's no telling how fast her elemental skill comes back and elemental burst comes back, right? Until she comes out. So that's why she's going to be doing tons of cryo damage. So I'm literally just going to build off of that 100%, and that's where the Glacier and Snowfield set wins in my heart. But that's about it for this video, guys. Y'all let me know down in the comment section below what y'all think about this character. Honestly, guys, like I said, I think this is the best set for the Glacier and Snowfield 4-piece set with a certain team. You need a certain team comp for this set to be insane, right? Like every set needs a certain team comp for it to be insane, you know? So anyway, guys, that was really about it for this video. I thank you to everybody who came out to watch this video. If you did enjoy this video, go ahead and smash the like button down below. Join the subscribers on the grind to 1,400. And guys, smash that like button. I know y'all enjoyed this, right? So anyway, I will catch you guys in the next video, and it will probably be about Ayaka's team comps. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be very interesting. But alright, without further ado, peace out.